everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to Kirsty and Bryony's Comfort Zone.
I'm Kirsty.
And I am Bryony. And today, we are not alone. We've brought in reinforcements today. On account of, if you can hear, we're both slightly bunged up. We have a wonderful friend to the rescue. We have the fabulous Mark Hulmes from High Rollers.
Bop, 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 bop. I'm here to save the day. Hello. My inner hero has been summoned. Yes, exactly.
Like Gandalf.
Yeah.
Appearing on the crest of the hill.
Honestly, I would gladly be the Gandalf to your Frodo and Sam. That is, I would definitely be very pleased with that role. I'd prefer to be Aragorn, but I'd happily be Gandalf.
How are you at opening two doors at once?
Really good, actually. Really good. Especially
nice.
if you've got big dramatic music behind me. Like, I think I could nail that.
All right, you're hired.
Yeah. And if I grow my hair out and just get really dirty, just go live in the woods for a while and just roll around in some mud, and then I'll come and open the door dramatically. The beacons are lit!
Perfect.
I'll be Gandalf.
Honestly.
Yeah, you can be
Wait,
Gandalf.
but what type of Gandalf are you going to be?
Well.
Are you Gandalf Big Naturals, or are you...
I mean, I could be.
Gandalf the Beige.
Ooh.
Very cozy, homely, sort of, found in IKEA Gandalf.
Oh my god, IKEA Gandalf. Now I'm just picturing a Gandalf in yellow and blue.
What, like Swedish Gandalf?
Yeah. And he holds
Gandalf?
like a giant Allen key instead of a staff.
Yeah. Yep. Hey.
The scene where he's like looking through the books, it's just him looking through blueprints, trying to find the secrets. Yeah.
On the 12th day of the third age, Isildur tried to build a Billy bookcase. Do be warned, I am going to probably do, there'll be lots of dumb impressions if you allow me. So if you trigger the right keywords, then, yeah. I'm like the Mancunian candidate. If you say the wrong keywords, I just do impressions.
This is our comfort zone, and if your comfort zone is your impressions, that we encourage it.
Exactly.
We indulge.
Nice. Good to know. I will keep that in mind.
Did you say we dulge or indulge?
We dulge.
We dulge.
We dulge in.
If you allow someone to indulge, are you dulging them?
Oh. Because it's that funny, isn't it? It's like there's a load of the words where we have a word for like the negative of it, but we don't use the positive word for it. I think I saw a QI clip on this. It was like, very few people. What was it? It was like...
It's like whelmed and overwhelmed, right?
Yeah. We don't really say whelmed anymore, do we?
Mm.
Wait, is that genuinely a thing? Is that...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure whelmed is... Yeah.
There was a bunch of them. I wish I could remember some. I'm whelmed.
I'm feeling whelmed.
Just whelmed.
Just lovely
The ones
whelmed.
that always get me are the ones where, when you can't think of an example. Like when adding something in front of the word doesn't make a difference. Like
flammable and inflammable.
Inflammable, yeah.
Yeah. You're like, why? Why does this
why?
not mean opposite?
I think flammable and inflammable because they used to use flammable, and then people were like, it's too confusing, so they started using inflammable or something instead, or something like that. I think
it's got to be the other way around, right?
Yeah, maybe it was the other way around.
Because inflammable sounds
implies that it isn't. You can't set it on fire. Yeah, it was that way around.
Oh, dear, oh dear. And that's something you don't want to have confusion about either.
No.
That feels like it's very important to know which way it's leaning.
I feel like there were some issues before they made that decision.
Yeah.
What is the opposite of flammable? Is there a word for it?
It's not inflammable.
My brain's going blank.
Oh,
I do words. I write things. I should know this.
Wait, what does fire? Is it like fire retardant? Is
yeah,
that?
Fire retardant is what we would use. But I don't.
That doesn't sound as cool as inflammable.
No, there's got to be another one.
I'm sure there is like a cooler sounding word.
Unburning.
Non-firing.
Imburnable.
Imburnable. I like imburnable.
Imburnable. Do, 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 do. Yeah. Well, today, how have we already got so off track? This is two people with a cold and one person with a wild imagination.
Well, yeah, somebody who is notoriously bad. Well, not bad at interviews, but I talk a lot. Like often, whenever I've done like interviews or podcasts or appeared on stuff, other people rarely get a word in because I'm just like, somebody will ask me a question, and I think it's the ADD where somebody will ask me a question, and then that's like 20 minutes, and there'll be like 5 different topics that I'll cover in that question.
Yeah.
She's used to that. That's fine.
Yeah, good.
We love that here so many times.
We love a ramble.
Well, there was an episode we did the other day where I think we started talking about dreams within 10 minutes, and everyone was just like, what the heck? What are these people?
What is going on?
This isn't the cozy report that I want to be involved in.
Why aren't you talking about dicks and Gandalf big naturals?
Yeah. But I mean, we're obviously glad to hear you have anyway. This is the level I'm functioning on today.
Yeah.
We're glad to hear you have. But also, Kirsty's dreams have abandoned her.
They have. They have.
My dreams have just been very tiny little bits. You know when you have like cold dreams? I've been just having these random things where it's like, Alex's dad was Martin Crane from Frasier and he was disappointed in me, and that's the entire thing. There's nothing there. So yeah, we're especially grateful to have you here today.
That said, I did have a dream last night about Mark.
What? About me?
Yeah. I say last night. I think it's because I woke up like 8:30 and then I went back to sleep. Ooh. I think you were just normal
hanging
old
out.
Mark. I think we were just hanging out. Well, it was only a short one, and I think it happened like after waking up and going back to sleep. So it was just one of those really light, sleepy dreams. But all that happened was me, you, and Katie Morrison were sitting just like out in the open on some sort of round seat. I guess it was kind of, it looked like what do you call them in playgrounds that spin? Is there a roundabout? I don't know. But the little things
you had to like run alongside.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah. But it didn't have like it just looked sort of like a flat one of those, and we were sitting on it. And a kid came up to us and he was saying to Katie, you were sort of sitting behind me, like on the outside edge of this round seat. And Katie was to my right. And he was saying to Katie, could I be a god in the next season of Erois? Please. Please let me. And Katie was being really nice. And I was just sitting there going, no.
I like as well the fact that it was our campaign of high rolls, which is now ended.
The last campaign, yeah, literally.
Like we've already moved on.
We've moved on, and this child wants to join. And Kate was being really lovely, and I was like, "Oh, I'm being mean. I should stop being mean."
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you something, Kirsty. If that was a real life situation, I would have 100% been with you, and I would have just told that kid, no.
Oh my god.
Amazing.
But yeah, that was it. That was literally the whole thing. I guess I was just half asleep and very wary of the fact that I had to wake up to record.
Wait, Kirsty, were you secretly the child? Do you want to be a god in the next
Oh my god, let me be a god in the next Erois.
Subconsciously, you're trying to the kid represents your inner child that you've hidden away.
No. Maybe.
Or like the kid is the one testing the waters, saying like, what would the general reaction be?
Yeah, if they let him in, I'm going to be like, hey, Mark, what about... Oh dear, no. But yeah, that was it.
In the current campaign, in the new setting that we're doing in Althea, one of the kind of religious beliefs is that anybody can become a sort of god or demigod. They can ascend to a divine sainthood. So in theory, Kirsty, if I could be bribed enough, there could be a divine saint that you have had some involvement in. But, I have to wait and see.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Speaking of campaigns and such, have dreams ever played a part in any of your like writing or like how you've approached things?
Is this when I admit to this?
Uh-oh.
Is this all right? Nothing to do with high rollers, and it's probably going to be quite embarrassing for me. I don't want people to right. Okay. Yes. The answer to this question is yes. But it has nothing to do with D&D. It was to do with writing, like fiction writing. And it is, in fact, the only time since I was a kid, since I was a teenager, because that doesn't count, I have written fan fiction as an adult. And it was because I woke up from a dream that was so vivid and crystal clear and laid out the entire plot of this story. And I woke up and I was like, I have to write this down. Like, it's so vivid. It's so clear. I have to write this down. And I was living with my parents out in Spain at the time. I was in between jobs and I'd gone to stay with my parents for a while and I had nothing else to do. And I spent 2 days just at the laptop smashing like a 50,000 word fan fiction out.
Oh my god!
Well, it was maybe less than that. It was maybe more like 30,000, but it was a lot. It was like, quite a lot of words in like 2 days, and I just absolutely bombed this thing out. And I keep in mind, I have never told anybody about this. This is an exclusive. I'm not going to say the name of the story because I don't want people to find it.
Right, so you've published it online.
Did you publish it under a pseudonym?
It's been published in a place under a name, but I'm not going to reveal any of that information.
It's Hark Hulmes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, search for that. Yeah, that's fine. But it was in fact a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fan fiction. Of my favorite characters and my favorite ship, Rarity and Applejack. And it was I had this whole ass story in a dream, and I was like, I must write this. I just went and absolutely smashed it out. And it was good. I liked it. It was fun. It was a fun little story.
When you had the dream, were you sort of part of it? Was it like first person, or were you just watching this happen?
It was like I was watching like an episode or like a movie. Like I dreamed it as a like I was watching an episode of the show.
That's
and I have that quite a lot with my dreams. Like only like whenever I do have dreams, which isn't super often, and I'll get back to that in a minute because Bryony has been hassling me to come on the podcast for a long time. But sometimes it'll be like first person and it'll be me there, but often it's like third person where I'm watching myself or I'm watching people that aren't me at all. Like some of my dreams just don't have me at all in them. But like quite often, even when it is of myself, which is the case of the dream that I have brought with me today, it was almost like I'm watching my body from out of my body. But yeah, in this case for my fan fiction writing, it was like watching an episode, and I was like, "Oh, so good! I
need to write it down."
Yeah,
you dream the same way I do. I rarely have first person dreams, and it's usually like a movie, if anything.
Yeah. The rare times that I have first-person dreams is they're often either nightmares or stress or like something horrible happens. And I had a very, very bad one, which actually I still remember, which was incredibly vivid because it took place in my bedroom. It was like a 1-to-1 replication of my bedroom in my house. God. And some people broke in, and I woke up just as they basically like came up to me and like were going to fight me or basically or hit me or something like that. And I woke up, and it's the first time ever, when people say in movies or writing like, oh, they woke up in a cold sweat and their heart racing. I've never had that in my life until I had this particular like nightmare stress dream where I woke up and I was like properly like like gasping and like my sheets were soaked with sweat and stuff because it was like a proper like it was so real. But it was almost all, and that was all first person. Like I remember that being complete, and that's why it was so disorientating because it was like I had just woken up in the same room where this awful thing had happened, and it was like 1-to-1 replica. Yeah, but I have a nicer dream to tell you about today. That was a sad dream, but this one I think you guys will get a kick out of it. I woke up. I said this to Bryony. I had a dream a long time ago, and I was meant to come on the podcast, but I lost the notes. I wrote it down for it because I really struggle to remember my dreams.
Yeah.
And then I think this was last week I had this. I woke up at 5 a.m. and this dream was so vivid in my brain. I immediately just got my phone and was like, I have to write this down. And so like 5 a.m, I'm on my notes app trying to write as much as I could remember. And then I think I sent Bryony a message on Discord at the same time saying, I have had a dream.
Honestly, the things we put our guests through.
Yeah.
The amount of people that are like, I had a dream at God knows what time and I wrote it down and I've done it and I was thinking about the podcast the whole time. It's like, oh.
Well, it's because I know that if I didn't write it down, I would have absolutely forgotten it. Like, I totally would have forgotten all the little details and little elements to it. And I actually told Nina, my partner Nina, about it in the morning, and she was like, "Oh my God, yeah, you have to tell Kirsty and Bryony that on the podcast because it's pretty wild." We go on a bit of a journey with it.
I'm excited to hear it.
Me too.
Should we jump in?
All right. So in story time method, I'm gonna kind of do this as in a sort of DMing style of setting the scene. So the dream begins in an arcade, one of these large, expansive arcades, loads of different machines of all different types. You got like racing machines, shooting machines. You got classic arcade machines, claw machines, like silly party games, and it just seems to stretch. This place is like massive. It's almost like Las Vegas. You know, the sounds, the lights, you know, all the different noises going on. And I'm there with Nina. You're there, Bryony, along with some of our other friends like Helen and Trot and Tom Hazel. And we're all there, maybe for a party or something like that. But we're all there. We're all playing all these different games. And I come across a game which is almost like a big set piece that you sort of stand in. And it is virtual bowling. So kind of like Wii bowling, but it doesn't have like a controller. It just uses the sensors of the machine to like read your body movements. And then it shows you a ball on a screen. And there's all these kind of wacky, crazy effects that go on when you get, you know, a strike or, you know, you miss and stuff like that, all these kind of, you know, crazy big screen effects. It also has a big online scoreboard. It's like a worldwide super famous game. And you know, you can track and see what everybody's doing. I go up, and also the game itself, and I don't know why this was a detail on it, but the actual arcade machine of this virtual bowling, you actually win prizes, but they're weird prizes, like it would deposit an entire boba tea or little gacha toys. Yeah, right? It was like, I was like, this is the coolest machine ever. And it would like literally deposit them in like a little box. And everyone's playing these games, and then I play the virtual bowling, and I am incredibly good at it. Like, I am strike every single time. And eventually, like, a crowd starts forming. Like, people are, like, watching me just absolutely smash this game. You guys are all like, wow, we didn't know you were so good at this game. And I was like, yeah, I've played it a couple of times. I think I said something like, yeah, Nina and I played this in Japan once. And we play some games, and everyone's, like, cheering and stuff. And then just as, like, I finish the game, and it's, like, you know, nearly a perfect game, right? Like, strike. A couple, a Japanese tourist couple, recognize me, and they keep calling me Sport Jacket. And they keep coming up, and they think I'm an American. They're saying to me, you know, they're just basically like, "You're Sport Jacket," and we're all like, all of us and our friends, we're just like, what are you talking about? My name's Mark. What Sport Jacket? And they basically reveal that years ago, in that Japan trip when I had played virtual bowling out in Japan, I became semi-famous online and on Japanese YouTube as an unnamed virtual bowling star. They called me Sport Jacket because I was wearing a varsity jacket at the time. I was completely unaware of this. And it became like a viral sensation in Japan. And so Sport Jacket became this like myth of this like virtual bowling game. And I couldn't put my name into the high score because it was a Japanese machine. So it would just read as like X's basically, or like one symbol repeated. Twist comes into the story at this point. We leave the arcade. Nina and I go home after learning about this Sport Jacket thing, and we're kind of talking about it. And I start looking up online, and it turns out that an American dude had claimed to be Sport Jacket from the video and now tours the pro virtual bowling circuit. Right? Exactly. Like, this is the big reveal. And he looks quite like me, and he wears this varsity jacket that I was wearing in the video. It's like, you know, a kind of generic one. And he's like famous, and like he plays in the pro virtual bowling circuit, but none of us really knew about it because it's not as big a thing in England. Nina and all of you guys encourage me to enter the pro tournament of virtual bowling under a new name, and then to reveal that I am the original Sport Jacket when I win the competition. I enter the competition, I fly to America, and then the dream almost becomes like watching a golf tournament with commentary over the top, and it's very kind of soft. Oh, he's got another strike there. Wonderful job. And it's that kind of like style, right? And we watch the tournament brackets go through. And as we're playing, Chris Trott, our friend Trott, asks me, he's like, Mark, why are you so good at this game? Like, what makes you so good at this game? And like a sports anime, I say, it's because I use my imagination to picture like I'm throwing a real ball, like it was some sort of secret anime power that made me so good. Another detail is that I entered the tournament under the new name Excalibur.
Wow.
And it reaches, and I get through to the finals up against the imposter sport jacket. And then the dream ends, and I woke up. I never got the final confrontation with Sport Jacket, or the imposter Sport Jacket, I should say. And that was the dream. That was the dream. I woke up and I was like, God. I must write this down because it was one of the weirdest dreams I have ever had.
It's like a sports anime.
Honestly, yeah. It was 100% had that like kind of underdog movie sports anime tone. Like in the tournament bit, it's like my dream zoomed out away from individuals, and it's like a montage of this, the different rounds and the different people involved. And yeah, I wrote down that bit that I said to Chuck because it was so stupid that I said it. And I said it with such a purpose, like, I use my imagination to picture like I'm throwing a real ball. Like I delivered it like such ancient wisdom. Like, and everyone was like, whoa, oh my God, whoa, what a cool power. Like it was that kind of response to it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that is the legend of Sport Jacket, as I called my dream.
I'm so sad that it ended when it ended.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was annoyed when I woke up. I was like, like, what happens?
If you were going to write the ending, how would you write it?
Well, like any true sports thing, like you think about like movies like A Knight's Tale and stuff, right? Like Sport Jacket would discredit me and I would maybe be like temporarily thrown out of the tournament. Like, they'd doctor some evidence that I was cheating or like I'd entered under a false name or something like that. And then it would actually turn out that the owner of Virtual Bowling would recognize me from those years ago as the original Sport Jacket and be like, no, he can still compete. Like he's the OG. He's allowed to compete for whatever reason. And then obviously I would win and, it would all be exposed, because you've got to have that classic movie ending, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone cheers.
Yeah, there'd be the sad moment where like I'm kicked out and we're all about to head to the airport to fly home, and then the little Japanese man in the suit who owns the game would come running out and he'd be like, "No, stop! He must play.
You're the real Sport Jacket.
You're the real Sport Jacket. I know. I saw you all those years ago." And then we'd get back in the tournament and there'd be a big cheer and we'd all probably have like a big buffet dinner. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I cannot decide what to look up for this dream. I've looked up sports. No, it's not in there. Bowling? I don't think it's that specific.
Maybe it's just incredible. I'm just baffled.
It was very bowling. It was very much bowling. Maybe like because it was the whole thing of like my identity got taken over. Like I don't know if that's something.
Yeah.
Because that was a big part of it. It was like this idea that like I had no idea that I was this famous virtual bowling star and this other person had then claimed to be me. And we had to expose them. We had to like reveal that they were not the original Sport Jacket.
Yeah. I just love how like cohesive it is and how there was just a running narrative the whole time.
Yeah, there was a lot of like dream logic where like we suddenly went from the arcade and there was no travel to like going home and looking up online. It just almost immediately happened. There was in my memory I didn't have any kind of like travel montages or anything like that, but then we did have the weird tournament montage of like watching all these different fake bowling people like in this virtual arcade machine. Very strange.
I wonder, like, how was it? Because obviously you do get recognized a lot as yourself in the real world. And how was it when that first started happening? Because I wonder if that is sort of part of it, of like remembering when the first time someone would have recognized you and just been like, oh, they know who I am.
Well, I mean, it's still weird to me even today. Like, you know, occasionally we'll be out somewhere and somebody will just kind of come. In fact, actually, I think the last time it happened was Nina and I went to watch the Super Bowl at a bar here in Bristol. And there was just a guy, just a random, completely out of nowhere sports fan wearing like, I think he was wearing a 49ers jersey, just came up and he was like, hey, are you Mark Hulmes from High Rollers? I was like, yeah. And he was like, I fucking love D&D, man. And then he just like shook my hand and literally just left. And even today, I still not find it uncomfortable. It's really lovely. It's a lovely thing. It's like a kind of a validation and a recognition of like the work I do, right? Like that's a good thing. But it's strange, you know, it's something I never expected to have to do in my life, really. And the Baldur's Gate 3 game that we did made that worse. Like a lot of people recognize me from that more than anything else now as well.
Yeah.
I started seeing clips from that from like being reposted from so many different accounts. I was just like, oh my gosh, I know them.
Yeah, well, and it's because it's like, you know, the Baldur's Gate cast, obviously they're amazing, and obviously Baldur's Gate 3 is a super popular game. But yeah, it was having that happen was just like, oh whoa, like this is bigger than I think any of us really expected it to be. But yeah, and so I get a few people recognize me from that now as well. But yeah, it's a lovely thing. It's just very strange.
Yeah. The strangest thing I ever had was the other week. I went to go and get some lunch in town, and I went to pay for it, and the lady behind the counter just said, "This one's on me." From a secret fan, and I was just like, "What?
Oh, that's lovely.
That's so nice.
That's the nicest thing." And I was just there like, I must have just imagined that because that's not something that happens, sort of thing. And then I was just like, sorry, what? Is for me?
There's something really lovely about people paying for like your food. I find like it's such a kind of intimate gesture, but it's one that strangers can do. I had a thing when I was out in Philadelphia once. I was out there for PAX Unplugged, and I went to like this, they have like a big food market there, very, very famous food market, and inside is like a little diner. It was, you know, very, very busy, very packed, but I went there and got some breakfast one morning. And I just got seated at like the end of a long table. It was like a big table, but I got sat at the end of it because they didn't have anywhere else to put me. And then a family, like a large family, came in and they had to be split up to 2 tables because there wasn't enough. And I just happened to say like, oh, hey, like you have this long table. Like I'm by myself. I can take one of the small tables. Like, you know, you guys should all be together. You're a family. And in a very traditional American way, the dad's just like, oh my God, thank you so much. That's really kind of you, blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much. And like, I was just like, yeah, it's no big deal. Like I'm literally just moving a table. Like it's, you know, not a big thing. And, you know, I finished my food and I went to pay for it, and the waitress lady was like, "No, it's all right. That gentleman over there's already paid it for you." Because it was like 20, but you know, my breakfast was like $20. You know, it wasn't like a crazy expensive thing, but he was just like, "Hey, you know, like you were, you know, paid kindness forward kind of thing," and I was just like, "That's really kind of you. Thank you so much."
Yeah.
And there's something about it, isn't it, when somebody pays for food that you've had? I don't know. There's something I find really. You know, and that's a really lovely thing. And like the fact that it's a fan as well for you, Bryony, that must have been, you know, even more special.
Yeah, it's a really lovely gesture.
Yeah.
It felt even more special because the last time I was in that particular place, I got to the front of the queue. I was there with Katie, and I got to the front of the queue and realized I had left my card on my desk at home, and I had to turn around and be like, "Katie, buy my lunch. I'm so sorry." And she was like, "I would have let you panic for longer, but you seemed so worried that I just did it straight away." She was like, "I would have let you suffer for a bit longer, but no, it was cruel." It's because I'd paid my tax bill and I'd just left it on my desk.
Yeah.
And then it's just reaching into my pocket and being like,
oh no.
I found one of my dream cards. I don't think it's that relevant though. I'm struggling with this one. There's one that is
I've
like
beaten the system.
Well, it says actor celebrity because I guess you were like a celebrity
in this instance. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it says the only bit that I can find that is sort of relevant, it says if you are a supporting actor, because I guess the guy was like he'd taken
stolen the role. Yeah.
It says it may mean you should put yourself center stage more.
Oh.
So
Okay. Yeah.
I guess you should. But then it also says, if you dream you're a celebrity or are intimate with someone famous, this may indicate your desire for greater attention or success.
Oh.
That does
It
sound...
goes either way.
It does sound like me, Brownie, I'll be honest. I love it. I love attention. Give me more, please. I want to be on the stage. I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this, like, because I used to, I come from a theatre background. I was going to go to drama school. I was going to, be an actor. And for a long time, and then I ended up working in the video games industry, and I went back to theatre for a bit, and we did a lot of like fringe touring and sort of small theatre stuff. And ever since I came to Bristol, I haven't really done any of that stuff. And I was talking to a friend of mine because they've just got into a play, like a little local kind of production. But I was like, man, I actually really miss doing that theatre, like stage stuff. Like I've gone to see a lot of stage shows and theatre musicals recently, and I'm just like, oh man, I really miss that stuff. I miss that feeling of being on the stage, and just having a whole audience like captive, because it's different. Like, people might say, oh, but you do like a stream and that goes out to like thousands of people. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't see them, right? Yeah. There's this whole thing of when you're on stage and you just see all these faces looking at you and you've got the lights, and I find it a very empowering feeling. I know not everybody does, but I love it. I'm like, yes, behold my art, and I kind of really miss that. So hopefully.
Part of it could have been something like that though, like the need for,
validation.
Yeah, and like being in front of an audience and recognition, and look at me, look what I've done. I'm Sports Jacket.
I'm the real guy. Look how good I am.
It's me.
Yeah. It's me.
I think
that's probably more likely, right? I think that sounds like it's kind of hitting the mark, I think.
But I guess as well with like what you're known for is essentially like having, like, this is obviously going to sound as if I'm playing it down a lot, but because you do a lot of amazing work, but like having fun with your friends is at the core of that. And I guess that, you were just having a good time bowling. And
it started off as this, like, we were out just having a fun time at an arcade. Yeah.
Yeah, it blew up. It's
which
like
is
much
very
like High Rollers.
100% is the story of High Rollers. Like, we did not expect High Rollers to go for longer than sort of like 3-4 months. Like, we thought like, we'll do like 3 or 4 months and then nobody will be watching it and they'll replace us on the Yogs Twitch with something else. And then that definitely didn't happen. It was very much that case. So I think it's definitely probably something built into all of that for sure. I'm just happy. For me, I just liked it because I was like, it's like a sports anime. It's like I'm in an anime. It's great.
That's why I like. That's why I'm just sitting here thinking about it, like as if it was a real anime. I'm like, I'm meant to be talking about this. I'm like, no. But imagine this scene, it would be so cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a cheeky Google of what dreams of bowling could mean, because bowling isn't in the book. But I'm going to look it up anyway.
It's quite an obscure thing. I was talking about, like, while Bryony is Googling, like, sports anime, I have a secret love for sports anime. Like, it's I love my mechs, I love my, like, superheroes and things like that. But there is something about, like, an underdog or, like, a sports anime that just really gets to me. Like, I don't know why, I find them incredibly compelling and fun. I was going to say, the most recent one I watched was Birdie Wing, which is so ridiculous because it is about women's golf.
Right.
The main character is a underground criminal golfer.
What?
Who basically relies on brute strength to drive the ball as far as possible, kind of like Happy Gilmore. And they get discovered and they join a pro team because she meets like a professional, very polite, lovely professional female golfer who is better than her, and she wants to become her rival. And then they have this whole thing of like going on to like tournaments and everything together. It is so crazy dumb, but it's also wonderful. At one point in the criminal golfing underworld, they encounter an organization who have built an underground facility that can randomize a golf course, and they use it to play like life or death golf.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It is utterly bizarre and bonkers and mad, and I loved every second of it.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I've never watched a sports anime, like a proper one, as far as I can remember. But I'm always aware of like the next big one, like cropping up. Like I remember, was it Yuri on Ice when that got big?
Yuri on Ice, yeah.
And there was, and there's just always one that's at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, I think. And it's like, maybe it's time.
Bowling.
What if there was a virtual bowling sports anime? Oh my God.
Sport Jacket, the anime.
Get it made.
Just saying.
Let's go.
What a story.
I'd be hooked.
I found Dreaming of Bowling.
Okay.
And it is quite generic, but maybe it'll stick.
I bet it's sexy.
It's so sexy.
Okay.
It says, Dreaming of Bowling symbolizes social interaction, teamwork, and competition.
Oh.
It may represent your desire to be part of a group or to achieve a common goal. So
that's very sexy.
Oh, it also indicates the ability to balance different aspects of your life. Because I guess you need the ball to go down the middle.
Yeah, that sounds like more what I'm looking for, I think.
Yeah.
That's definitely, there's a lot of things going on in life, and balancing them all is hard.
It do be.
It do be.
It do be like that.
That's interesting.
Mark, do you find, I'm going to ask you before I forget, because you've recently been diagnosed with ADD, do you find that medication for that has changed the way you dream?
I'm in a funny place because I've not been able to consistently stick to my medication. Just because I had, it gives me a very bad side effect of really bad insomnia. And so I ended up like, I would take it and then, I would not sleep for like a week. I'd be going like on like an hour, 2 hours of sleep, like across like 4 days.
Okay.
And so I had to stop, and then I would kind of go like, all right, I should get back on it again, and stop. And then eventually I just kind of stopped taking mine.
That's fair.
But I didn't find, when I was taking it more regularly, I didn't find it massively changed the way I dream, I don't think. I certainly don't remember any changes to it for me.
See, one of the big things with me and how I have completely stopped dreaming is because of going on to meds for ADHD. Like, since I've started taking them, my dreams have just dried up entirely. Yeah. And there was a period of time where I had to stop taking them for like a week, and it was like the floodgates had opened. Like, it was just like, bam, here come all the dreams. But yeah, it's really bizarre.
Yeah. It's all those thoughts, right? All those intrusive thoughts that don't make their way through because your brain's processing things differently and stuff have like built up, and then they get unleashed. Yeah, I think because like for me specifically as well, like I was getting really bad. I couldn't stop my brain at night, because the type of medication I was on was very much a stimulant based to help me focus. Right, my problem wasn't necessarily like the hyperactivity; it was more like the executive dysfunction and focusing stuff. Yeah. So I found that I would lie down to try and sleep, and my brain would be like, no, we've got a million things we need to do, buddy. You need to get up and like work on this thing, So I struggled, and so I couldn't, I don't know, even if I had dreamed, I imagine I would have just dreamt of things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
But no, it makes sense though that like, if you're on medication, that it kind of like clogs it up, right? Because the part of the medication is to stop you having these, thoughts constantly barraging.
The thing is, I'm also inattentive. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just the meds just seem to affect everyone in a different way. But yeah, I apologize if that's too much information. Like, if you don't want that in, like, we can cut it and whatever. But
No. I talk about this a lot. Like, I've been very open with my ADD diagnosis, and I'm a very open person. Like, and if, when I do stream, I tend to do like 6 to 7 hour just chatting streams where we talk about everything and anything. And I've always been very open with it. Like, because I think like for me, I only went and got my assessment for ADD because a friend of mine approached me and said, hey, I've just had this, and I know you and I are very, very similar. I really think you should go and get assessed for it. Yeah. And therefore, from that point on, whenever I've talked about it and I've talked to people who I'm like, you and I seem very similar, like this, if you're interested, you maybe could go and get an assessment or like get on the list for the NHS, whatever it is. Because for me, even though I'm not being able to stick to the medication, what has helped me massively is just knowing that it is something that I don't have control over. It is just the way my brain functions, and that there are things that I can do and there are things that I can't do, or things that I'm good at and things that I'm not good at. Because I used to beat myself up. I'd be like constantly like, you're so lazy. Why can't you do this?
Yeah.
And so knowing that you have a cause actually helps. Like, it doesn't solve it. It doesn't help you like not do those things, but it just takes some of that pressure and that guilt away, which has been really helpful to me.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, inattentive, like ADHD or ADD, like especially, one of the big things like growing up and not being diagnosed with it is that you just think you are so incredibly lazy because it's so difficult to do things with the executive dysfunction.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because it's, you know, I was told growing up through school, and I still think this today, is like, you know, Mark would have so much potential, or Mark has so much potential. And I still feel that. I'm like, I know I could achieve so much more if I didn't have this thing. And this thing kind of limits me in that way, but you just find ways around it. And you know, I want to go back on the medication. I want to kind of speak to my doctors about lowering the dosage or trying something different. Just because like I when I did take it, my God, it was like the world was a different place. You know, it was the executive dysfunction, especially. Like, I would be like, oh, I need to do a thing. And I would just do that thing, you know, whereas what happens now is like, I need to do a thing. Oh, I've got all these other things. And like, you just physically can't bring yourself to do it, even though it's such a simple, easy thing to do. It's like trying to put your hand on a hot stove. It's like,
yes, definitely.
Your brain won't let you do it, you know?
Yeah.
You know what it was like? It was like you just envisioned bowling a bowling ball and you just did it.
I just
Bam.
did it. Imagined it. Bam. That's it. That's the secret power.
Oh dear.
So funny. It's the way that I said it. So I remember, because as well I wrote down, I remember saying it so seriously to Trot, and like Trot and everyone else was like, wow,
mind blown.
You can really picture that, like, as a scene, just turning to the camera, like sparkles around you, just like, I envisioned the bowling ball in my hand.
And then I bowl a perfect strike in the machine.
It was like,
absolutely. Oh my God.
Whilst maintaining eye contact.
Yeah. Here's a twist. And again, I have no problem talking about this, just in case you guys worry. But like the whole like mistaken identity, like having this person who is pretending to be sporting sports jacket, and then myself kind of having to prove it. I do wonder as well, because I've been going to therapy. I started doing therapy at the end of last year. And one of the big things that I'm talking with my therapist about is identity. Because like for me, for the last 2 years, like I've definitely been exploring the idea that my gender identity is maybe not what I thought it was. And that I wonder if maybe there could be some elements of that in there, with like this idea of like an imposter or somebody pretending to be me. And then like, you know, these thoughts and feelings of like, well, who is me? Who am I? That kind of stuff as well.
No,
that could easily be something that plays into it.
Yeah, that absolutely sounds like it could be the case.
Like when you are a streamer or a performer of some sort, I think there can also be that, like, because whenever I'm streaming, I always think, well, I'm just being me. I don't put on a front or anything. But I think even if it's just the smallest defensive thing, I think even if you are very open and honest, I think you are always going to have a version of you that is that person, and it's not an accurate representation of yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in that way, people will think that they know you.
Right. Yeah. But the whole parasocial imposter thing. Because like,
Yeah.
you're right in that, like, even people who, like, I would say that I think the three of us are very, the person that people see on streams and on videos is very, very simple, like almost identical to who we are in real life.
Yeah.
But there is that, 1%, 2%, 5% where you don't show those side of things. Like I can be, I've no qualms at showing my grumpy side on a stream. But like, I know that there's definitely a part of me that I don't, there's definitely elements where I'm probably dialing that back, or I don't let myself, show that side of myself on a stream. Even with people who are very open, which I think the three of us kind of are. But I think that 100% that could be a big part of it, And there are some streamers who their online personality and their stream personality is completely different to their real life personality. Yeah. And that can be like a defensive thing. Like they're just like, nope, this is what makes me feel comfortable. Or like it can be something like, I think it's one of the wonders of VTubing. Like I follow quite a few VTubers now, and I actually think that that's such a wonderful way of stream, because it's like, especially for people who have like body dysmorphia or identity issues, like being able to say, well, this animated character is going to represent the kind of me I want to put out into the world. And either be very positive or be very funny or be very flirtatious or whatever it happens to be, because they might not feel that they can do that in real life. And I think that that's like a really lovely thing of that environment, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yeah. I don't I do it semi-often, but usually it's because I'm just like, I can't be on camera today. But when I do use a PNG tuber, I find it so much like more freeing. And like the amount of times when I thought, God, if I'd have started with this and like set a precedent, it would have been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think you can transition, like, and it's funny because it brings up something that happens in LARPing quite a lot as well. You know, there are people like the LARP I go to, Empire. You have one of the nations is the Imperial Orcs, and they all wear these like full latex masks, like these orc masks. And I've talked to a few of their players now, and they say it is so transformative and freeing. Like once that mask goes on, that's like they're the character now. Like it kind of, they can completely transform, and it helps them almost become another person, right?
Yeah.
And I know that with makeup as well, like, you know, doing like a full face of makeup and wig and stuff like that when I you know, do my playing around my gender stuff, that's the same thing for me as well. Like it allows me to kind of shun off a part of myself and let the other part of myself out. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a kind of transformative process to that.
I find cosplay as well is great for that. Like I've said in the past, like, you know, I went to like Comic-Con like every year for like, I don't know, 10 years or whatever, but I've never had as much fun as the time I went in cosplay. It's so freeing. And like the getting people again, like looping background, getting people coming up to you like, oh my God, you're dressed as so-and-so, like they're my favorite character, like I've not seen anyone else dressed as them, and having people like look so happy to have found you is just, it's such a good feeling. It's so good.
It's so good, and it's even better when it's like younger fans as well. Like I did it where at MCM a few years ago, I went as Rarity from My Little Pony, and two things happened. One, whenever I bumped into another cosplayer who was doing like a human pony like as well, they immediately were like, oh my God, like we had this big kind of like, you're so and so, blah blah blah, let's take photos together. But then also I had so many like mums and their like daughters basically like come up and be like, oh, Rarity, can we get a picture kind of thing? Or like, oh, it's her favorite pony and stuff like that. And that was like a whole other level of that, because that was just like, oh my God, my heart's melting. And like, you know, when they say like, oh, you know, she's my favorite and stuff like that. And like, oh, you look so pretty. I'd just be like, I'm going to cry. I was like literally on the verge of like, wow.
That's
you're
so
right
nice.
in that there's a communal aspect to it as well, of like a shared kind of thing.
Yeah.
Bryony, when you did your worm for the Jingle Cats, did you feel a similar freeing mentality of being worm, sexy worm?
Very much so. Like even just like putting on a silly little homemade worm mask, I was like, I could be just the goofy little guy that I want to be right now. Whereas, it can just be. And I think there's also something nice about being complimented on something you've done rather than something you're born with. Like, because someone just coming up to you and being like, nice ass, sweetheart, that's like, no, don't do that. Whereas if it's like, wow, I love this costume you've made, or this makeup you've done, or the way you've done your hair, like something like that you've actually had control over and is part of yourself shining through, rather than just something you can't control, you were just born with it. It just means so much more.
Something you've chosen, right? Like it's because you've made that choice, right? And I think that can extend to like a physical thing as well. Like I have friends, but also myself, like when I've done like my LARP character, for example, and I make a big effort of the makeup and the hair and to look very pretty, but also when, you know, people saying like, not even just the complimenting the makeup, but just, oh, you look really pretty. That feels important to me because it was a choice I've made. It's like not a thing that like I was just given or born with. It was, I've made the effort, or like I've made that choice to do that, right? I feel empowered by it. So it feels lovely and it feels really good. And I think you're right in that if it's a thing you've made that choice. This is a thing that you've put time and energy in and you've chosen for yourself. And that makes a huge difference when people compliment that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think that's like more a part of yourself than how you were born to look.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like in complete control.
Yeah. I'm words bad today.
No, I think it's good words. It's good words. From a silly dream about bowling.
Definitely.
It works very well.
I was also wondering with like the identity thing, like I've heard people say when they are diagnosed with things such as, I guess, like ADHD and those sorts of things, there's a certain level of like breaking your character down because you realize all the things that you've just been that are more like what's the word? Not coping mechanisms, but like
masking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like breaking down those things and actually discovering who you actually are without those things.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like an element of that coming into play as well, of just like
100%.
like you say, who actually who am I?
Great movie, by the way. Great movie. I think so, 100%. And I think that's like a big thing that I talk to my therapist about now, not just like the gender stuff, but also ADD and like my work as a streamer. Like, I'm pretty sure that she finds it very fascinating, the things that we talk about, because it's all so heavily tied together. And I think that's why, you look at who are the people who are streamers, right? There's a huge high percentage of hot messes, but high percentage of things like ADHD, autism, gender identity. Like there's a much higher variance in the streamers and sort of content creators than I think is in with, most people that work at a bank, or most people that, go and work in like finance or marketing and stuff.
We're all neurodivergent in here.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it goes hand in hand, right, with that, it also, and this is something my psychiatrist said when I was first diagnosed with the ADD, is like, you got to remember that for all of the problems it causes you, it also makes you who you are, and it makes you good at the things that you're good at. And it's why you're where you are today. Like, people say, like, I know it's a bit of a cheesy term, but people say like it is a kind of a superpower as well, because it does help us be good at the things that we now rely on, right? Like it makes us able to talk to strangers about things that we're passionate about. That's great for streaming, right? Like I know so many people, I have friends like normie friends who are like, I could not do that at all. Like the idea of like being on a stream and having to talk about something for that long, like I just couldn't do it, or like people who are afraid to be vulnerable and like show themselves or show a side of themselves and stuff like that. The ability to just be creative on the fly, or also not have any routine. Like as streamers, we're just like, I'm doing this today, and then tomorrow I've got a stream, and then actually we've got a brand deal, and then we're doing a recording for a main channel video. Like there's very little consistency. And some streamers, obviously, the whole thing is just being consistent and streaming X amount on every day. But I think for a lot of content creators, there is a lot of variety as well. And like, I know that that's something I desperately needed. I was very miserable working a 9-to-5 job. It was a good job. It was in the games industry. It was a really good job. It was very well paid, but I was still miserable because it was just routine. It was just, day in, day out, the same things. And I was just going mad.
I had that too. Yeah. When I worked my full-time job, I found that every morning when I woke up, it was as if I was super aware like of myself waking up and being in bed and thinking, here we go again. And then the rest of the day would fast forward, then I'd wake up again and it would be like, right, now I got to do it again. And it was just over and over and over. And there was no sort of end to it. But having that freedom to, do kind of what I want to do. And it's like, if I need a day off for my mental health, I can do that. And it's just kind of even though it's very unpredictable and, you don't have a steady flow of money all the time, it's still kind of the perfect job for someone, personally for someone like me, because I can work around my own mental health and I can set my own schedule and do things that work for me. It's great. And not 100%. Only that as well, but there's always that classic thing that people like neurodivergent people, for instance, they tend to flock together, don't they? Like there's that thing where it's like, if you see one person with ADD, there's going to be another one like, within 6 meters. We're like rats.
And you can tell as well, like you start talking to somebody and you're like, yes, you are one of my people.
Exactly. Exactly. So for that reason, you end up making such good friends doing it too. Like I've met so many lovely people since I started streaming, and it's just like, if I was still working my 9-to-5 job, I would not have, been able to talk to all these lovely people and made so many good friends, and it's just been pretty good.
And just to clarify, I think, just because I don't want anybody out there kind of thinking that, like, we're saying anything negative about work. I think not I wish I could be like, I've got friends of mine, like I said, who work 9-to-5 and they are happy and they are thriving and they are doing, amazing and they love it. And they're like, I love this. I love the fact that this is the way my life is. And there's definitely a part of me where it's like, man, like that sounds really nice, in a way, like that's such a, there's so many positives to that lifestyle as well. well. And it just comes down to different people and what we're good at and what we're not good at. I think I think that finding my way into this career, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys as well. Like I have a great love for it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love just talking about the things that I'm passionate about or sharing the things that I'm passionate about with other people. And I'm also very happy to share myself as well. I think that that's another thing as a streamer is, we have these communities and you have to be willing to like give up a lot of yourself to people as well.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's all very personal and everyone has their own preferences. Like some people are absolutely fine to be working a 9-to-5 job, and then when they get home they get to do whatever the heck they want and they know the money's coming in and it's perfect, and like our job isn't perfect either, like it can be very unpredictable and that can be a source of stress, but everybody's different, like you say. And
I just wanted to say as well, like, my friends who do that 9-to-5 job, their hobbies are their hobbies. They do them for fun.
For fun,
and
imagine.
And like, there's so often it's so dangerous for us in our career to like go like, oh, I've got this new hobby. Guess I'll make that part of my job now. Yeah. And it's just like, no, keep it as a hobby thing. Like
I'm going to play this game I love. I hope everyone doesn't make me hate it now.
Yeah. Like, God, there's this game that I really love, but my chat absolutely hates it. Oh, I guess I won't play it then. And that's like a big thing. Like, it's one of the reasons why like I stopped doing like the mini painting streams, because I was like, I need this just for me, guys. Like, this is my relaxing time. Like, as I know that the people really used to enjoy them when I used to do them, but I was like, I need this to just be my thing that I do for me to relax,
Yeah, definitely. There's that thing as well, like as someone who is sort of, self-employed, etc. Like when you do your own things, you kind of feel bad. It's like sometimes you can fall into that trap where it's like, I'm not working right now. Like I'm doing this thing. I could be streaming this. And it's really,
why am I not
really...
making content?
Why am I not making content? It's so easy to fall into that trap. And as a result, I find personally that sometimes I just don't do the things I want to do off stream because I'm like, nope, I feel bad that I'm not working right now, so I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to sit here and wait until I have to stream.
I'll give myself a day off to sit and feel guilty all day.
Exactly.
Just beat myself up and then go back to work.
I literally talked to my therapist about this week. Like the conversation we had this week was about what is rest. And like all of this came up, and it was just this idea of like being asked, like, what does rest look like to you? And I couldn't answer it. I was like, I don't know. Like, she's like, well, what do you do in an evening? I'll be like, well, sometimes I'll play a game and I'll have like, I'll be trying to chat to people on Discord and I'll check social media. She's like, and you're doing all of those things together. I'm like, yeah. And how many of those things are connected to your work? I was like, well, kind of all of them. She's like, nah, that's not rest then. Because you're thinking about work. Even if you're not working, those things are connected to your work, right? And so you're not actually resting. Like, when do you feel relaxed? And literally the only answer I could give is like, oh, we went on a holiday last year and I spent like a week just reading books by the pool. I felt quite relaxed after that. And she was like, right, so that was completely disconnected from Discord and social media and everything else. Like maybe you need to do more of that.
This is what's got me back into reading recently, because I remember messaging Kirsty a few months ago and just saying, I don't know how to relax anymore. I either just feel guilty or I have to be working. And I'm broken. I don't know how to do this. And now reading books the same way, it's just like it's just me in my little world with whatever I'm looking at, and that's it.
You get absorbed into it, right? Like that's the thing I found is like once I get absorbed into the book, the rest of the real world sort of like falls away, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not worrying about it because I'm in the book, right? I'm in that story or with those characters, and it really helps you disconnect from it. Yeah, no, it's so funny because that's the exact same. I basically had the exact same thing of like, what is rest? What is relax? Me no. Because like you said, like the worst for me is when you sit here in an evening and you do nothing and you just feel guilty for it. You're just like, oh God, like you feel like you've achieved nothing, but also you've not actually rested. And like, oh, I could have been working, or I should have been doing this, or I should have been doing that.
But that's the thing. Alex would say to me like, oh, what do you want to do this evening? And I would say, honestly, I want to work so that I feel like I've done something. And I was like, that's just so bad, because you need to have that time of like, but I was like, that that was like the only dopamine hit I was getting of like, you've done work. That's success now. Well done, you sort of thing. I was like, no, there needs to be something else.
Yeah. I think my equivalent, maybe because I don't really read that much, which is bad, and I need to. But my equivalent is probably playing Pathfinder on a Sunday because it's so disconnected from streaming. Like, you know, people will be like, is this streamed anywhere? It's like, nope. It's not. No streaming anywhere. You know, and I might go on stream and talk about it and just ramble because I'm constantly thinking about it. But it's not, I'm not doing it for content, you know, I'm doing it for fun. And like, I'll go to bed and I'll just think about everything that just happened. And that's like my equivalent of reading a book and getting engrossed in the story. You know, that's something that's going to happen every Sunday, and it's mine. And that's my rest time.
You're getting the same thing out of it as reading. Like, you're being transported to another world. You're having this engaging story that, you know, you're involved with, and you're disconnecting from everything else. That's the main thing from it.
Definitely. Even if it's horribly traumatic, Rithian.
Damn.
I won't go into what he did last session. Rithian.
See, this is not to turn this into a D&D thing, but like, I feel like I am a very nice, like, people like talk about me like I'm some sort of horrible villain for the things I do in High Rollers, but I look at all of the other GMs out there, whether they're streamed or whether they're friends telling me about the game, and I'm like, I'm incredibly nice. I feel bad tormenting my players, genuinely, but like, I don't even come close to half the shit that these other GMs are doing. Apologies for my language. I'm like, am I allowed to swears?
You could swears. To be fair, I am one of those players that loves drama, and I have said this to Ridley before we even started our campaign. I said to him, just if you want to
ruin me,
absolutely, go ahead, please. I love it. I thrive on it, and he took me up on that, so I can't complain.
You and Tom are very similar. But it's good because it's, speaking as a GM, when a player says that to you, it relieves a lot of that guilt and burden, because not every player does love that. A lot of players get very attached to their characters and they do not want bad things to happen to them, and that's perfectly valid. That's absolutely a valid way to play as well. But it's nice when you have players like you and Tom Hazel who are just like, fuck me up, daddy, like just go nuts. Like, here's my awful story, ruin me, make me suffer, make me cry. Yeah, exactly.
I love it too. I think it always surprises people a lot, because I think people's impression is that I'm going to want to have like a nice little character and everything is lovely. But one of my favorite things I ever did was, I think Tom was the GM, and it was like the sort of Warhammer style of things. And I had this really like proud character. I started off with the real like, I'm the hero, I'm saving the day. And I was just broken. Like my leg was literally broken. I was dragging my foot. And I remember like one of the final things we did before we stopped was I literally just crawled into bed with Tasha's character and was just like, can you just hold me, please? And she was just like disgusted by me, but also just like, oh,
Fine.
And I was just like,
Warhammer's a great system for that, because it is a very brutal game as well. Like, you can't play that game and be like, I don't want anything bad to happen to my character, because that's a game where like, oh, the bad guy got lucky rolling a hit against you. You just lost half your teeth. That's an actual mechanic in the game. I
love how specific it is. How it's not just like, you take this many damage points sort of thing. It's where do you take that damage? How does it affect you for the rest of the campaign sort of thing?
And if you get a crit, it's like you could lose fingers, you could lose a hand. There's one of my favorite things in that system is you can, for Kirsty mainly this is, because I know, Brian, you've played it well, I've run it for you, but you can attack someone, and if they get a critical when they roll to defend, they can perform a critical injury against you. And if they roll like 100 on a D100, they literally can like chop your head off.
Or like
kill you. on your attack against them, they could be like, ha, you're dead.
I think not.
And there's no resurrections or anything like that. It's just no, that's it. You're dead now.
Yep. You got to bring it back up for that one.
Yeah, and it's fun because it's like the character when you make a character, you can completely randomize everything, so you can actually just very quickly generate a new character. But it also means that like sometimes you can play an absolutely like you can be a rat catcher or a peasant, and you're like, I've got my pitchfork and some bronze coins, and that's it. That's your character.
That sounds perfect.
But you can also be like, I am the Elven Ranger, but that Elven Ranger can just as easily have their head chopped off.
Dies.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun because I think that playing that kind of game, because you know that going in, it changes the way of your like, well, you know, you don't expect to win every fight. Like it's almost, you know, you're terrified. We did a streamed game of Warhammer. And I had like set the guys up and like told them, and like Tom had played it before and was like knew how brutal it was. But I think Trot, Kim and Ree hadn't. And so we were like really, me and Tom were like, no, it's really brutal, really brutal. And in the adventure, they come across like a group of like these 5 mutants. But the book adventure on the GM side is like, yeah, the players are going to have surprise against them. They're actually not that tough. They should win this fight pretty easily as long as they don't like really cock things up. But the players didn't know that. And so they were like, what? 5 mutants? Like, oh my God, we've got like 1 sword between us. Like, what are we fucking going to do? Like, they were absolutely bricking it. But it meant that they also thought quite creatively of their tactics and like how they approached it and stuff like that as well. Whereas in something like D&D, you'd just be like, I charge, I fight the 5 mutants, chop, 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 I win.
Yeah.
You know. So it's very, very good. Not to turn this into a D&D podcast, which people keep telling me I should do.
I do it every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way, it is like relevant to your dream again.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like you can be someone else.
Yeah.
You can like there are things that you can do when you're playing these like role play. That is exactly what you're doing. You're role playing, and you can explore different elements of yourself. Whether that is just to flirt with your friends or to be angry when you can't show your anger a lot, you know, that stuff I think is very healthy.
I think this whole episode has kind of just been based on identity, and role-playing games is just one of the best ways to explore that, honestly. So
it is incredible the amount of people I speak to today that, you know, they use role-playing as a safe place to be who they want to be or who they feel they can't be for whatever reason. You know, that might be somebody who's quite shy and timid and plays a raging barbarian who, you know, has no problem shouting down people that are opposing them because they feel that they are in a place safe enough to do that. That could be somebody playing a character of a different gender or a different sexuality as a way of testing and seeing how it feels and being more comfortable with that identity. And I speak to a lot of people who talk about that and have found that experience, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's one of those things where I wish stuff like role-playing in D&D was taught in things like schools, or like, you know, was used more as a way of like, hey, like, you can use this as a safe place to like try this stuff out. It's why it's also makes me very sad when I hear about like really toxic GMs or toxic groups who don't let you do that. Because to me, I'm just like, you are missing out on so much of the point of these games, right? Like for everyone as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Like
I am one of those people as well. Like I explored like asexuality with one of my characters, and I have a friend in I have 2 groups, so Pathfinder and 5e, and in my 5e group, one of my friends who is male is playing a female character and like having a lovely time. And it's just really, it's such a good way to explore like just different aspects of yourself, and it's just it's so good. And it's just I love it.
I love it too.
In short, I love it. It's great.
We all love it.
Woo!
Yeah, for sure. But I think identity is a really good theme for the whole episode. All brought on by Sport Jacket.
Yay!
Thank you, Sports Jacket.
Thank you, Sport Jacket.
Only the real Sports Jacket.
The OG Sports Jacket, exactly. Not the imposter.
Boo.
Boo.
Well, where can people find you doing all these amazing things?
Oh, well, the easiest place for people to find me is on social media. I generally go by Sherlock Hulmes, Hulmes, either an underscore in the middle or an underscore at the end or no underscore. It's a little puzzle that you have to solve to find me. Which one has it got?
Riddles 3.
Riddles 3. Where be the underscore be? But then also High Rollers, which is my D&D show that we've talked a fair bit about, which you can find High Rollers D&D, Twitch, YouTube, podcast, social media, all of that kind of good stuff as well. And you can see me there every Sunday, 5 p.m. GMT, running our Althea the Dragon Empire campaign.
Hell yeah.
And then the next campaign with Kirsty as a god.
The next one,
Yeah. Well, I've got to get that little boy in first, and then
true.
No, I told him no, it's fine.
No.
I'm next, not you.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and
Thank you so much for
bringing your
having me.
amazing dream. If ever there is a part 2, I want to hear
Or
it.
an anime adaptation.
Yeah, I
That
will
is-
let you know. I will 100% be dialing you up like, Bryony, Kirsty, I've seen the end. I've had the part 2.
Sports Jacket's back!
But yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. It's been really lovely chatting and talking about all sorts of things.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely. Yeah.
Well, until next time, everyone. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.